Hello and welcome to the video lecture for week 5, day 2 of this summer course. This lecture will review text-based elements of the rough draft of the recommendation report and a reminder to hold a 4th team meeting if possible. And heads up, I am still losing my voice and I have this weird chronic hiccup thing, but I will try to taper it down a little bit. So we're going to discuss the submission expectations for P2, including some examples of how to correctly submit your recommendation report that's so important. At least once a semester, one group from each class submits their rough draft incorrectly, and then they are surprised when they get not a stellar grade or not a grade at all if I can't open their link or their whatever weird PDF they decided to upload, even though you're not supposed to upload a PDF version of your report at all. Well, let's talk about it. If you have a 4th team meeting, and you should, there are some things to think about, like enacting the work plan for the P2 recommendation outline you've already devised. You should have an outline on Prezi, Sway, or Adobe Spark ready to go so you can start plugging in the visuals and the text. Furthermore, just because this is a rough draft does not mean it should be missing major components. Not turning this in will impact everyone's grade on the team. Consider presenting your report in front of a friend, family member, so you can receive outside feedback. Also, they might notice something you forgot, like spelling, color scheme is off, there's images not labeled, the flow is unclear, I don't know. Remember, I am not the audience for your recommendation report. I do not care about the topic. For this class, you should put on your professional hat and ready the report with the mindset of, I'm presenting this to my boss. I really want to impress them and impress upon them the import of solving this problem. How best can I do that? It might help if I've researched a budget, contingencies, and show how equitable a solution can be for the impacted population so that it looks like I know my shit. The report should look good and not half-assed. That's a long internal monologue, but on the day you actually have to present a report in an academic or professional sphere, these thoughts will reverberate in your head. Thus, it helps to practice now. If you're thinking, my visuals don't need to be explained, you should think again. A visual on its own can be hard to interpret, and that's where a write-up comes in handy. Review the formula on the screen. Do I have that formula? No, I don't. I don't know where I'm going now, guys. Just let's bear with me. There should be a formula on the screen which will help you present and analyze the images, because first you should, with a sentence, introduce the figure, discuss the figure, and then explain the relevance of the figure. For the most part, you should have already finished write-ups for each image. When you had to submit the image analysis, research solution report, the social justice component, and other like-minded assignments, you had to include images and add context. You should use what you have written and make sure it flows with the rest of the report. The conclusion of the report should be a call to action. I skipped ahead one slide. I'm just all over the place. I'm tired. What do you think of when you hear the term call to action? A call to action underscores for your intended audience viable solutions that examine a problem in a context that is in the world and outside of your academic space. The goal of the call to action is to realistically and practically assess how your research solutions can be applied and what is needed for the solutions to work well. Think of the call to action as a way to tell your audience why your recommendation is the best one and what needs to be done to act. The conclusion you write for the P2 report should be a call to action. It should not be a budget image like I left lazily on this slideshow. Learn from my presentation skills and do better. That was supposed to be a screenshot of a conclusion. My apologies. Anyway, consider your P2 problem and solution to help you better situate your call to action within your report, which is the final section in your recommendation report. Think of it as your conclusion. It should be labeled as such. However, rather than just wrapping up the report, it should inspire the audience to do something with what they've just learned. Hence, that's why it's called a call to action. Consider the following statement, and then you could write a couple sentences in response to the 3 sentences on the screen, or maybe do a screen grab of them, or take or pause the video. I don't know. Start by listing potential stakeholders and their roles in the proposed solution in order for this recommendation to be successful for the audience's organization. Then you'll be able to review the 3 sentences on the screen with thoughtful responses for a strong call to action conclusion paragraph for your P2 report. You're welcome. The password on the screen is for any day 2 assignment that asks for it. Moving on, what is an abstract? This is another part of the P2 report that someone will be in charge of writing. In general, an abstract is a short summary of a longer work. It helps the reader know what the work is about. It's best to write an abstract at the very end when you've completed the rest of the document, or in this case, a report. An abstract is a synopsis of what the report will overview. Some writers fall into the trap of the abstract is the first thing the audience will read, therefore it's my intro. No, that is incorrect. Think of when you flip over a DVD or a book. I mean, there's so many digital versions of that now, but there's still going to be a paragraph-like premise highlighting what you can expect on the digital or other type of version of the DVD or book. However, the book or the movie can still stand on its own without this little premise. The same should be true for your report and your abstract, as the abstract should summarize the report and the report should then follow with an actual and separately worded introduction and other movable parts from the outline. Use the formula on the screen to help you complete the abstract for your recommendation report. You can also find this formula on the 5.2 Understanding Concepts page. Review some of the sample P2 links in the modules and review their abstract structures. These student samples of the recommendation report are never going to be perfect, but it may help you emulate a succinct abstract style, or it may help you understand, I need to stay away from that type because it was too long or it was unclear. Assess your writing through the eyes of others and by studying the writing of others. For project 1, you learned about letter formats, and many of you chose to write a letter in response to the audiences of your scenario. A letter of transmittal is not so far apart from what you already know how to create, except its purpose for the report is different. A letter of transmittal must be completed by someone in the group, and it's basically a letter of intent for the report. It's also the first item to be seen by your audience, your boss, so the text and the design should be on point. Essentially, this type of letter signals intent in the most formal of ways. For example, think of the seriousness of a letter and what that implies on its own. And thus, this establishes ethos for the recommendation report from the very beginning. Since the letter can also be how you submit the assignment, you should really pay attention here to the examples I'm going to click on. To start, the letter can be uploaded to USF Writes, and at the bottom or top or somewhere, you can feature a link for your entire Prezi, Sway, or Spark report in there. So from the picture, we can see a student uploaded the version of their letter of transmittal for their report. And then somewhere in the text of their letter, they had a clickable link to take me, their audience, to the presentation. And we're going to look at that right now. So we're going to pretend we're in USF Writes. I accessed their upload of the letter, which had the embedded link. And when I click on their link that's in their letter, it takes me to the entire report. It does not show me a PDF version of their report. It does not show me this PowerPoint version or just a text-based version. For your rough draft, you want a good grade. You want your full grade, right? So you're going to upload your presentation like this. Or I've seen students upload a blank document to USF Writes, and the only thing on that document is the link for their presentation. And then within their presentation, they have their letter of transmittal, a picture of it or a link for it embedded within their report. And here we go. Here's their letter. But still, I can access the entirety of this report as a clickable link and not as a PDF. I'm going to go back now to the slideshow. So what we just looked at, either uploading your letter of transmittal with a clickable link for the presentation, or just a document with the link itself. Those are the only two ways that you can submit the P2 report at all. In general, I'm open to whatever way you wish to begin your report, as long as it includes a letter of transmittal. Because some students choose to submit their report by using the letter, you should discuss with your group how you're going to integrate the letter and how you're going to submit the P2 draft. Like I said, you cannot upload a PDF version of the report. Rather, you can only submit the P2 draft from the options on the screen. If you do not correctly upload the report, it will impact the entire team grade. You cannot fix this afterward for a better grade. This is because if I can't correctly access the report, or you haven't submitted the full report or listen to the directions fully, you cannot resubmit the correct thing afterwards. This is equivalent to showing up to a performance venue the day after the big show and still expecting to perform. Lastly, let's review some tips about document design. This is important for the look of your P2 report. The responsibility of a writer to produce reader-friendly documents extends to layout, design, and organizational elements surrounding the words themselves. If an email or a report were simply a wall of undifferentiated text running for several screens or pages, any reader would be daunted by the prospect of having to scale that wall. That's why creating a visually appealing report that flows with the text is important for P2. Review the tips on screen to help you design the layout of P2. You can use several techniques to help guide the audience's eyes across the page or the screen of your report to easily find what they're looking for. Rather than being optional nice to haves, the considerations on the screen are crucially important to how well your document will be received. After finishing the rough draft, you only have 1 week of class left. This is going to be the last required video lecture, but I'll still add notes and helpful tips needed to help you complete week 6 and the final draft. But before we finish here, let's review the upcoming assignments for week 5. Doesn't include a whole lot. There's some sample reports, more samples you can look at, an extra credit exercise in which you choose only one of the reports, consider these parts of that one report and then answer questions about it. If you completely and correctly finish this assignment, you can get up to 5 points of extra credit July 29th at 11:59 p.m. uploaded here. And then finally, the draft of the recommendation report that you should have been working on all along with this, again, some samples. Reminder that one person in the group has to upload it to USF Writes. I will input the grade here on Canvas, but you're going to see feedback on the Likert scale score on USF Writes, and that is where I'm going to view your report on USF Writes. The outline for the report is below, and it should look familiar because you've already seen it, and it shows you where all the visuals should go and all that stuff. Some kind of reminders at the bottom. If you want to know how I'm grading it, I do lay all that out there, what everything is worth. Yes or no questions you and your team can ask yourselves before you hit upload on USF Writes. And then prep ahead for peer review, just like you did for P1. And even if you're not the person that was responsible for uploading it to USF Writes, everyone needs to upload the link for their report to the peer review discussion board so that you can be matched with a peer, because this is going to automatically do that for you. But if you don't upload it just like last time on time, you're not going to be paired with someone. You're going to miss out on the grade. So prepare for that. And know that your report should look like one of those samples. And I know the idea of using Prezi, Sway, or Spark, it can be a little annoying, but I've used Sway and it's doable, even for someone who does not know anything about tech like me. When I asked you to access the syllabus and a visual interpretation of the syllabus, that was a Sway where you could just scroll through it. I added images to it. I mean, some of them could be a little better or bigger or whatever. I changed the text so that it wasn't just Times New Roman. I tried to make the headers more appealing. When there was something important, I highlighted it, changed the color, but I didn't rely on too many color changes because you don't want to do that. If there was a lot of text, then I separated it by using bullet points or some other way to differentiate large blocks of text, because you want to avoid large blocks of text because people stop reading after a while because there's just one big blob. So you do want to separate things, highlight some important stuff, add those images in there. I didn't add captions and all that because this is different. But you can create your Sway, Prezi, or Adobe Spark. One person will upload it to USF Writes. And then another part of that is making sure that, again, that it's uploaded correctly. Either the letter of transmittal has a link on it and that gets uploaded to USF Writes, or you just upload the link. And then you also have the checklist there. So I know who contributed, and hopefully everyone did, because rarely, sometimes I will see a blank line here and I'll know how to grade, for that instance. And it's really none of your business, but just let me know who contributed in some way to the rough draft. The checklist is important. That is due July 30th at 11:59 p.m. No late submissions are accepted. If it's late, you get a flipping 0 for 80 points for 50% of your grade. It's going to hurt a lot. Don't do it. Don't do it. Please, please, please. If you have questions, please reach out via email or texting me on WhatsApp. And bye.